So Scott Lincecum of Bespoke Nacho fame, prominent neoliberal shill and Dispatch newsletter writer, uh, he wrote about The Bear, this TV show. I guess it's on Hulu, but it's an FX show. Life is weird. And he makes the case, arguing about how like urban regulations and red tape and all that is holding back people who want the American dream. I highly recommend it. Go read it. We took it out from behind the paywall. Hopefully, some of you will go read it and say, huh, this is great. This is the kind of thing I want to read all the time. I am now going to become a subscriber to the Dispatch. But I just want to make a point. It's funny. I tweeted this thing a couple weeks ago, before 4th of July, and people keep quoting it back to me. Even though more than a few times people were like, yeah, someone tweeted blah, 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 and they're describing my tweet. Anyway, I think it was Dave Weigel had said on Twitter that God created the bear so that people who were, and I'm paraphrasing, people who obsessed over succession on Twitter will know what they sounded like. And I thought it was funny, and I retweeted it. And then like a day later, I was like, I've been thinking about this, and I think there's something that needs to be said. And I made the point that the bear in some ways, and I'm not going to give you any spoilers. The bear in some ways is the exact opposite of Succession. Now, I enjoyed Succession. I didn't love it the way a lot of people do. I have very strong feelings about Adam McKay's quote unquote serious work. So in Succession, you have horrible people. They're all horrible. Some are more horrible than others. Some are more pathetic than others. Some are meaner than others. But they're all pretty much terrible people, at least among the main characters. And there's nobody to root for. There's really nobody to sympathize with. And like empathizing with them is almost dangerous to your soul. Quick reminder about what empathy is. Empathy is to, at least in the, empathy only enters the English language, I think in like 1907. It comes from a German word, which was picked up by the German historicist school, to mean feeling your way into. And basically it's this ability to feel someone else's feelings, right? And so all I mean by that is like, if you start empathizing with these horrible people, yeah, they should be upset that they, didn't make $6 billion off of cheating somebody or whatever, right? Then, that's not great. It's kind of like related to the stuff I was talking to Chris Leah about, like when we start worshiping villains in movies, that's not great. You shouldn't be emotionally taking Hannibal Lecter's side on a lot of things because he eats people. He eats people without their consent, which I think is a really important point. Anyway, and so Succession, I also, and this is my problem with Adam McKay. Adam McKay doesn't like America. And he craps on America all the time. He says terrible things about America. All of his political stuff mocks America, mocks capitalism, mocks, the free market, mocks the stupidity of people who like America a lot and all that kind of stuff. And I don't mean to be too harsh. I don't mean to be unduly harsh, just duly harsh. And I remember this has stuck with me ever since I think I first heard John Pod say this years ago, where McKay had said something really crappy about America, and Pod went nuts, saying, look, this is the only country in the world that could make someone like Adam McKay wildly rich and successful and popular and powerful. This is the only country in the world that can, that someone can monetize fart jokes and all the rest, to the point where you have multiple homes. And yet McKay like seems to show no gratitude for it whatsoever. And his depiction of, at least from the stuff that's trickled down to me, maybe like I'm being wildly unfair and someone will send me a note and I'll apologize. And I want to be clear, I like a lot of Adam McKay comedies. My problem with things like Succession and some of the other stuff that he does is basically it's the same kind of writing. It's the same kind of jokes. They just do it deadpan. It's kind of like taking Weekend at Bernie's and putting it through some chat GPT thing into German and pawning it off as some sort of dark existential Ibsen play. If you actually listen to a lot of the dialogue in Succession, it's kind of Anchorman-like in how, I mean, it's funny, but it's also really stupid. It doesn't go as far as Anchorman, right? Like, no one says, diversity, what's that? Oh, it's a large wooden ship. But there's a lot of, like, just really over-the-top insults that, would be perfectly normal in Anchorman. You're a smelly pirate hooker, right? That kind of stuff. But because they do it deadpan, it seems like incredibly witty, dark dialogue. And the depiction, like if you go watch that Paul Cantor panel, I've mentioned a few times now, we'll put a YouTube link to the YouTube thing. Some kid asked about, Succession's depiction of democracy in America or something like that. And Chris Lea gave a very nice, polite, critical response. And I was like, dude, we got to go deeper than that. Succession's depiction of how Fox News works and how democracy works and how journalism works and how business works and how capitalism works is just stupid. It's just, I mean, it's fine as comedy or as dark satire, right? But like, there are people who don't know that that's what it is, including, I think, sometimes the creators of the show. I think that they think they're really shining a light on something. And it's just ham-fisted stuff. And I say this as someone who's got a pretty good record of being critical of Fox. Anyway, Succession is all about these extremely rich people who are full of senses of entitlement about their wealth and full of contempt of normal Americans. And The Bear is about normal Americans who just want who just want to pursue the American dream, who want to pursue their personal dreams. They want to be excellent. They truly want to be excellent for excellence's own sake. They all have problems. They all have demons. They all have things to get over, but they're all capable of redemption, and they want it. They want to be better people. And because they want to be better people, they are better people. That's the thing. All people can be better than they are. And no one should get on too high a horse about how they're better person than some other person. But one of the things that marks a good person from a less good or bad person is their desire to be a better person. And, this is one of these lessons that's taken me a long time to really internalize. Is like, trying to be a better person is a good thing to do all the time. And I don't necessarily mean about like eating right and getting exercise and all that, although by all means people should do that, starting with me. I mean, just like trying harder to be nice to people, trying harder to respect people, trying harder to hear their perspective, is trying harder to help people. Like that's a worthwhile thing to try all the time. And you don't have to be sanctimonious about it and all that kind of thing. It's a good thing. And the thing about The Bear is these are all people with all sorts of issues, but they have the things that unite them are the desire to improve, the desire to be better, the desire to commit to some project that's larger than themselves, that's dedicated to true excellence. And then they introduced this thing in the second season, this other part of it, which is service to people. And it really is the antidote to all the crap in Succession, right? Because in Succession, it's all about masters of the universe moving pieces around through mergers and acquisition as sort of a zero-sum game where the rich are always rich and it's just who's comparatively getting richer at a faster rate than somebody else. And in The Bear, it's about real human beings who are trying really hard to figure out, how to be good people and also how to succeed. And so I thought Weigel's tweet was funny and all that. And, but like, The Bear is morally uplifting, and Succession is a giant, dark, Stygian wet blanket thrown over any sense of uplift. Right? It is a show of despair, and The Bear is a show of hope. And I think that should be celebrated and congratulated.